The biggest Premier League game in years is here. Manchester City versus Arsenal. And yes, the title is on the line. Hello, Gooners. Welcome back to Gooner TV. If you have been following the Premier League this season, you already know that this Sunday is not just any Sunday. This is the kind of Sunday that you will remember for a long time. Whether it goes well or not, this game is going to be one for the books. Manchester City versus Arsenal. Two teams, one title race, and everything on the line. We are going to break it all down for you today. No complicated words, no confusing stats, just straight talk from one Gooner community to another. Let us get into it. So, why is this game such a big deal? Let us start from the top. Right now, Arsenal are sitting at the top of the Premier League table with 70 points from 32 games. Manchester City are just behind them in second place with 64 points from 31 games. That is a 6-point gap. Sounds comfortable, right? Not really. Here is why. City have a game in hand. That means they have played one fewer game than Arsenal. So if City win on Sunday, the gap drops to just 3 points. And then when they play that extra game, they could go level with Arsenal on points. Just like that, a 6-point lead becomes nothing. And here is another thing that makes this even tighter. If both teams finish the season on the same number of points, the title goes to whoever has the better goal difference. Right now, Arsenal have a goal difference of plus 38. City are at plus 35. That is just 3 goals separating them. 3 goals in a full season. That is how close everything is. So, Gooners, let us ask you this. When you look at those numbers, do you feel confident or do you feel nervous? Even people outside of Arsenal and City know how big this is. Former Liverpool striker Michael Owen called it the biggest game in many, many years. He said whoever wins this will most likely win the title. Former Manchester United defender Gary Neville, who knows a thing or two about winning titles, having won 8 of them, called it an enormous game that will define the Premier League season. He even said City are smelling blood going into it. So yes, this is not just a regular Sunday afternoon match. This is the match. Arsenal and the weight of 22 years. Let us talk about what this means for Arsenal, because for us as Gooners, this is not just about football. This is personal. It has been 22 years since Arsenal last won the Premier League. 22 years. Think about that. Back in 2003 to 2004, Arsenal were winning titles regularly. They even went the whole season without losing a single game, a squad that became known as the Invincibles. That was the last time we lifted that trophy. In recent years, Arsenal have been one of the most consistent teams in the league. Since August 2022, no team has collected more points than Arsenal, but consistent has not been enough. The title keeps slipping away. The most painful memory is from the 2022-23 season. Arsenal were 8 points clear at the top of the table after 29 games. 8 points. You would think that was safe, but City reeled them in and won the title by 5 points. Arsenal had been sitting at the top of the league for 248 days that season. That is the longest any team has ever led the Premier League without going on to win it. That record hurts. Does that 2022-23 collapse still play on your mind? Or do you think this Arsenal squad is different? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Now here we are again. Arsenal leading the table, City chasing, and the pressure building with every game. The big question is whether history is about to repeat itself or whether this is finally the year Arsenal break the curse. Arsenal's recent form is a real worry. Let us be honest with each other here. Arsenal have not been playing their best football recently. In fact, their form over the last 4 weeks has been the kind of thing that keeps you up at night as a fan. It started with the EFL Cup final. Arsenal went to Wembley hoping to win a trophy, and they lost it to Manchester City. Not the best preparation for a title run-in. Then came the FA Cup. Arsenal were knocked out by Southampton. Now, Southampton are not even in the Premier League. They play in the Championship, which is the league below. Losing to them in a cup competition was a real shock. It was the kind of result that raises questions about where Arsenal's heads are at right now. Then, last weekend in the league, Arsenal were at home at the Emirates. They were playing Bournemouth, a team sitting in 11th place. And they lost at home to a mid-table side in a game they really needed to win. In those last 4 games across all competitions, Arsenal have won just one. That one win was a 1-0 victory at Sporting CP in the Champions League quarter-final first leg in Portugal. A good result, yes. But it came with a problem that brings us to the next point. Gooners, do you think Arsenal's recent poor form is just a bad patch, or is something deeper going on with the squad? Let us know what you think. Injury problems are piling up at Arsenal. Now, let us talk about the injury situation, because this is where things get really complicated for Arsenal heading into Sunday. First, there is Bukayo Saka, one of Arsenal's best players, their main man on the right side. He has been injured for a while now and is described as a serious doubt for Sunday's game. Losing Saka alone is a massive blow. He is the kind of player who changes games. His pace, his crossing, his ability to beat players. Arsenal really miss him when he is not there. To cover for Saka's absence, Arsenal have been using Noni Madueke on the right wing. He has been doing a decent job stepping in. But now, Madueke has picked up a problem of his own. In Wednesday's Champions League game against Sporting CP, Madueke was substituted around the 1-hour mark with what looked like a knee injury. After the match, he was seen clearly limping. He was smiling and laughing with his teammates, which is a good sign, but nobody really knows yet how bad it is. When manager Mikel Arteta was asked about it after the game, he said he did not know, that it was something in Madueke's knee and they had to take him off. Not exactly reassuring words. So now Arsenal could go into Sunday's game potentially without both Saka and Madueke, both right wingers, out for the biggest game of the season. What are Arsenal's options then? Arteta could use Gabriel Jesus on the right, who has played there before. Or he could use Gabriel Martinelli, who has also operated on that side. There is also 16-year-old academy talent Max Daumann, but asking a teenager to start in a game this big might be a step too far. There is a small reason for hope, though. Earlier this season, Madueke left Wembley in a knee brace and somehow was fit enough to play in Arsenal's very next game. If this new injury is similarly minor, he might just make it for Sunday. If both Saka and Madueke miss the game, do you think Arsenal still have enough to get a result at the Etihad? Who would you put on the right wing? Manchester City are flying right now. While Arsenal have been going through a rough patch, Manchester City have been doing the complete opposite. They look sharp, they look confident, and they smell an opportunity. City have been a trophy-winning machine ever since their manager Pep Guardiola arrived at the club back in 2016. In that time, they have won 6 Premier League titles in 9 years. They have won cups, domestic and European. They won the famous treble in 2022-23 when they took the Premier League, the Champions League, and the FA Cup all in one season. The last 3 seasons have been a bit of a transition period for City as they tried to replace some of their older key players. But this season, the machine is running smoothly again. Erling Haaland is leading the way with 22 goals in the Premier League this season, making him the top scorer in the league. Young French player Ryan Cherki is making a big impact with 10 assists, the second most in the league. Antoine Semenyo arrived from Bournemouth in the January transfer window and has made a real difference. And 21-year-old Nico O'Reilly, who came through City's own academy, has had a breakout season, scoring 3 goals in his last 3 games. That kind of form at that age is very exciting. City have momentum, they have quality, and they have the home advantage on Sunday. Be honest with yourself as a Gooner. Does this City team scare you? They are at home, in form, and desperate to catch us. What do you think? The two managers and their special bond. One of the most interesting storylines around this match is the relationship between the two managers. Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola go back a very long way, and their story is one of the most fascinating in football. They first crossed paths when Arteta was a young player coming through Barcelona's academy, and Guardiola, who is 11 years older, was starring in Barcelona's first team. So Guardiola was already a professional when Arteta was still learning the game. When Arteta retired from playing in 2016, he did not just disappear from football. Guardiola invited him to join his coaching staff at Manchester City. Together as manager and assistant, they won 2 Premier League titles, 2 EFL Cups, and the FA Cup. Working alongside Guardiola at that level gave Arteta a masterclass in how to manage a top football club. It was that experience that convinced Arsenal to appoint Arteta as their own manager in 2019. So in a very real way, Guardiola helped build the man who is now his biggest rival. Despite being rivals now, they clearly still have huge respect for each other. Arteta once said he loves Pep and has admired him since he was 10 years old. He called Guardiola a friend and said he is grateful for everything he did for him. Guardiola, in return, has called Arteta an extraordinary manager. But when Sunday comes, all of that warmth goes to one side. Both men will be doing everything in their power to beat the other. Which manager do you trust more to get this right on the big day? The student or the master? The rivalry that has been growing for years. This is not just a one-off big game between two clubs. This is now a proper rivalry that has been building over several years. This is the 3rd time in 4 seasons that Arsenal and City have gone head-to-head in a real title race. These two clubs keep finding themselves in the same space, fighting for the same prize. We have already talked about 2022-23, when City came from behind to overtake Arsenal. The following season, 2023-24, City went into a slender lead and Arsenal chased them all the way to the final day of the season, finishing only 2 points behind. 2 points. That is how fine the margins have been. Even last season, when Liverpool ended up winning the title, the fierce competition between Arsenal and City never went away. And there have been some memorable moments in the matches between these two teams in recent years. At the Etihad last season, City denied Arsenal their first win at that stadium in 10 years by scoring an equaliser in the 8th minute of injury time. That is in the 98th minute. After that dramatic moment, Haaland walked over to Arteta and told him to stay humble. Those words became famous in football circles. Later in that same season, Arsenal beat City 5-1 at the Emirates, 5-1, a complete domination. And when young Arsenal player Miles Lewis-Skelly scored that day, he celebrated his goal by copying Haaland's famous meditation pose, the one Haaland does when he is trying to stay calm and focused. That was Arsenal's way of answering back. Earlier this season, Haaland scored to give City the lead in a match at the Emirates. But Arsenal came back to draw the game in stoppage time through Gabriel Martinelli. So even in the matches this season, it has been drama and tension right to the end. Which moment in this rivalry stands out to you the most? The stoppage time City equaliser, the 5-1 win, or Martinelli's late equaliser this season? Tell us in the comments, what happens if Arsenal win? Let us think about the possible outcomes here. What happens if Arsenal go to the Etihad on Sunday and get the 3 points? An Arsenal win would be massive. It would put them 9 points clear of City. Yes, City still have that game in hand, but even when they play it, the gap would only go back to 6 points. With just a few games left in the season, 6 points is a big buffer. Arsenal would be in a very strong position to win the title. More than just the points, a win at the Etihad would send a message. It would say that this Arsenal team is not going to fold under pressure. It would break City's momentum. It would give the Arsenal squad a massive boost of confidence going into the final few weeks. For the fans, a win on Sunday would feel like the moment everything clicked. After 22 years of waiting, after all the near misses and heartbreaks, a win in this game could feel like the moment the title race truly turned Arsenal's way. What happens if Arsenal lose? Now for the harder conversation. What if Arsenal lose? A defeat on Sunday would hurt badly. The gap would shrink to just 3 points. When City play their game in hand, they could go level. Suddenly, Arsenal's lead disappears completely, and the title race is wide open with only a few games to go. It would also mean that City have beaten Arsenal 3 times in a short period, having already won the EFL Cup final against them. Losing 3 times to the same rival in such a short space of time would do real damage to Arsenal's confidence. And then there is the psychological element. If Arsenal collapse from this position again, just like they did in 2022-23, the questions will start. Are Arsenal mentally strong enough to win a title? Do they have the character to hold their nerve when it matters most? Those are brutal questions, but they would be asked. Gooners, can we be honest here? What is your honest prediction for Sunday? Win, draw, or loss? And what do you think the final score will be? The bigger picture for Guardiola. There is another layer to this game that makes it even more interesting. Pep Guardiola's future at Manchester City. Guardiola has been at City since 2016. He has been one of the greatest managers in the history of the sport. But there have been whispers and rumours about whether this season could be his last at the club. He has not confirmed anything either way. He has simply refused to discuss it. But think about what it would mean if this is his last season. Winning the title in such a dramatic way, coming from behind in the final weeks of the season to overtake Arsenal, would be an incredible way to end his time at City. It would be one of the great stories in Premier League history. That adds even more motivation for City on Sunday, and it adds even more pressure on Arsenal to stop it from happening. What Arsenal need to do to get a result. So what does Arsenal actually need to do to win, or at least not lose on Sunday? First, Arteta needs to sort out the right-wing problem. If Saka and Madueke are both unavailable, he needs to make a clear and confident decision about who plays there. Uncertainty and experimentation in a game this big could be costly. Second, Arsenal need to be defensively solid. The Etihad is a tough place to go. City are sharp in attack with Haaland leading the line and Cherki and Semenyo creating chances. Arsenal cannot afford to be sloppy at the back. Third, Arsenal need to find a way to score. City's home record this season is strong. Arsenal will need to take their chances when they come. A goal from a set piece, a counter-attack, whatever it takes. But perhaps most importantly, Arsenal need to show mental strength. They have been struggling in recent weeks. The players know the pressure. The whole country is watching. In moments like these, the teams and players who can push the noise out and just play their football tend to come out on top. Arsenal have the quality. They have the experience of being in this position before. Now they need to show the character to go with it. Final thoughts from Gooner TV. There you have it, Gooners. There. Everything you need to know going into Sunday's massive game between Manchester City and Arsenal at the Etihad Stadium. Kickoff is at 4:30 in the afternoon, and you had better be watching. This is Arsenal's chance to take a massive step towards ending 22 years of hurt. The whole Gooner TV family will be watching together, feeling every moment, every tackle, every chance. Yes, Arsenal are going into this in poor form. Yes, they have injury problems. Yes, the Etihad is never an easy place to go. But this team has shown before that they can rise to big occasions, and this is the biggest occasion of the season. We believe in Mikel Arteta. We believe in this squad, and we believe that this could finally be Arsenal's year. Drop your predictions, your starting 11s, and your thoughts in the comments below. Let us get the conversation going, because this Sunday, we need the whole Gooner TV community loud, proud, and behind the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.